Welcome everyone to this month's IRQB Quality Monthly on Iris Certification Technology. It's my pleasure today to give you and introduce to you this webinar, and thank you very much for answering the question on the Mentimeter. For your information, you can use Mentimeter throughout the presentation and webinar to give your questions, and we will have a question and answer session towards the end of the webinar. So please do not hesitate to answer the rest of the questions throughout the webinar and ask your questions. You have on the top screen, on the top side of the screen, the Mentimeter website with the following code. It's very good to see that we have a vast majority and a great amount of different people attending this webinar. So as I said, I'm very happy to introduce to you this month's IRQB Quality Monthly on Iris Technology. My name is Anish Bauer and I'm an Iris Technical Manager. We're really happy to have received over 250 registrations coming from over 37 countries, all continents over the world, from all of your attendees. The attendees are ranging from system integrators, equipment manufacturers, and operators, all the way to auditors and certification body representatives, as you've just seen. Iris Technology, consisting of Iris Portal, the Iris Audit Tool, and the Iris Database, is quintessential for the success of Iris certification scheme. Today, we're going to give you an insight on how Iris Technology offers the necessary tools for awarding and maintaining the Iris certification scheme, as well as supporting companies in preparation of the audit. During this webinar, we will have representatives from rail companies, certification bodies, and the Iris Management Center to explain to you how Iris technology is not merely a functional IT system, but also helps companies to strive towards higher quality objectives and therefore improve their respective business management systems. So in the next slide, you will see the exhaustive amount of speakers that we have today that will give you ultimately the insight and perspective of the Iris technology. I will start giving an introduction, after which Joachim Lent, Iris auditor from IRQB, with his extensive knowledge of being an auditor for many years, will give an insight on how the Iris audit tool can help facilitate audits in a auditor's perspective. After that, Ms. Jana Jung, Iris development manager at Unify, also with her previous experience, will give her expertise and insight on how the Iris audit tool can also be used in advantage for companies in terms of how companies can use the Iris audit tool to prepare for their upcoming audits. After that, Asegul from TÜV Nord, with her expertise and vast experience of also being an Iris lead auditor, but today focusing on her other hat, which is Iris certification body representative from TÜV Nord, will give her extensive insights on how the Iris portal will help certification bodies manage the Iris certification scheme. Last but not least, I will conclude one more time to give an insight on the concluding topics, as well as going into details on how the Iris database can be used for your advantage as well. So without further ado, let's start today's webinar with the introduction. Thank you very much. On the next slide. So the first question you may have is actually, what is Iris technology? Many of you may not actually know. Well, Iris technology comprises of three key elements: the Iris audit tool, the IRIS portal, and the IRIS database. So the IRIS audit tool is an integral part of the IRIS certification system, as it's used for recording and evaluating data, as well as generating standardized reporting for IRIS certification audits. It's essential for certification bodies as well, as during the IRIS certification audit, but also allows rail companies to use the tool to increase their quality performance internally. The tool can also be purchased from the IRIS portal by all rail companies seeking certification to conduct internal audits, allowing to increase the quality performance and prepare for their business management systems for the upcoming IRIS certification audits. The second element of the IRIS technology is the IRIS portal. By IRIS portal, I refer to the domain name iris-rail.org. This portal basically has a public area available for all users where they can find generic information about the IRIS certification scheme, facts and figures, frequently asked questions, and technical news. However, the majority of the IRIS portal, you will see later, is only accessible by registered companies as well as IRIS approved certification bodies and their respective auditors. By these means, we offer an online platform to both monitor, upkeep, store, and exchange audit information and more. Last but not least, the third element in the IRIS technology is the IRIS database. The IRIS database is the part of the IRIS portal that provides all necessary information about the audits. Each past audit, each IRIS certificate, all the information is included in the online database. The name, the address, the company, scope, the validity of the certificate, and much more. The audited company can, of course, choose and decide which and what information and details are available to their customers, their stakeholders, and other suppliers by giving them specific access. Otherwise, this information is strictly confidential. So basically, IRIS technology, consisting of these three elements that I've just explained, offers the necessary tools for awarding and maintaining the IRIS certification scheme, as well as supporting companies in the preparation of the audit. So that's where we are today. Let's see where we'll be tomorrow. So in terms of future evolutions, you may have heard we are striving towards an evolution of our current IRIS audit tool, which is downloadable, to a web-based solution. So the full web application development, which is to transform what I've just said to a cloud-based solution, will really offer the latest technological advancements and allow us at the IRIS Management Center within Unify to transform and have a paradigm shift of our technologies towards the latest standards. This operating system will be operating system independent, and this will allow all users to perform their tasks in a professional, a mobile, and a collaborative manner. Meaning, it's not important anymore what type of computer you use, whether it's a Macintosh computer, a Windows computer, a laptop, a tablet, and so on. The new web-based application will allow all users to work on the audit tool with ease. These latest technologies will be used in order to allow us to anticipate the expected scalability while simplifying both the support and the maintenance activities. So without further ado, I'm very excited to announce our first speaker, Mr. Joao Clement, IRIS lead auditor, to give his excellent expertise and information, and more importantly, perspective from an auditor on the first part of the technology, the IRIS audit tool. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Anish, for the nice words at the beginning. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself shortly. So as Anish said, I'm the lead assessor responsible primarily for two schemes, and it's automotive IRTF scheme and railway RE scheme. And I'm serving also a subject matter expert for both schemes in IRQA. I was asked to provide an auditor feedback and how I see the IRIS audit tool is helping auditors to perform and to carry out the certification third-party audit. And obviously, as an auditor, I took this perspective and describe it from the typical and well-known audit cycle. So if we move to the next slide, let's have a look at the first key step. And I consider this step as the most crucial for the successful and effective audit, and is it audit planning phase. Current ability of audit tool, meaning synchronization with the IRIS database and proactive clients updates on their information on the portal. Audit tool is providing all up-to-date information about audited organization, namely addresses, number of employees, which are crucial for, let's say, the audit calculation and so on. Another very nice feature which the other scheme doesn't have as an integrated tool as part of the audit reporting system is automatic audit duration calculation, which helps a lot, especially these days when the numbers of employee can vary from one day to another, from 1 month to another. And obviously, if all these data are up to date on the portal, then auditor can avoid any surprises coming on site and seeing there are so many employees, which differs from what has been seen before, or there is a change, significant change of the scope of the certification. So if all this works together, so auditor has everything during the planning phase, and he can be very well prepared for the on-site executional part of the audit. And obviously, not only for an experienced auditor, but also during the change of the auditors after the 6 years, the existing tool and information contained in the tool provide very important information about the scoring, objectives, evidence seen during the audit findings and history of them during the previous audits, which is very helpful also for the auditor to prioritize areas of focus for the upcoming audits. And obviously, because all the questions and all the requirements are part of the tool, there's no need to prepare a specific audit checklist. This can be very helpful from third-party auditor perspective, but also from a second party and a first party from the internal auditor perspective. Because obviously, when you do not carry out these type of audits every week or every month, and you don't have sufficient experience, this audit checklist can be very helpful for such an auditors. So if we have already everything in the audit tool, we don't need to spend time on preparing specific questions for the specific processes. Are we there? Because I can't see it moving. So if we're talking about the next step, and it is audit realization step, from a design of the tool is that auditor having all the information required for achieving the certification. Very good feature which was recently added was focus and performance tracking and trends monitoring of mandatory processes. Obviously, knowing
Yes, okay. So due to some technical restrictions from the internet of one of our participants, we will just jump to Miss Jana Jung, who will give the perspective of the audit tool for a company and how a company can prepare for their upcoming audits in terms of using the IRIS audit tool. So we will, once the auditor comes back, we will jump back and hear his perspective as well. The floor is yours, Jana.
Yes, thank you, Anish. Okay, so I will quickly continue. My name is Jana Jung. I'm the IRIS Development Manager at the UNIFI. But before I joined the UNIFI 2 years ago, I worked at Bombardier at a site and I was responsible for the quality department. So this is why I was also in touch with the IRIS audit tool before I started at UNIFI. And in my presentation, I would like to give a short overview how also companies can use the IRIS technology in their daily business. So on the next slide, you will see the path genau, that I would like to know from you. So here again, please could you join the Mentimeter and tell us if you have already been using the audit tool in your organization. So I see a lot of you are already familiar to the audit tool. I guess Anish will be happy about this. Okay. So I see you are, I think, all quite professional with the audit tool, but for those of you who have selected no, I will maybe give some tips how you could use the audit tool in your daily business. So on the next slide, we see how a company can, or which way the company has to go to become IRIS certified. So first, of course, an organization needs to apply on the IRIS portal, and this is always the first step. During this first step, it is also possible to select already the certification body and to get in touch with the certification body that is then responsible for the certification process. The second step is that organizations should get the IRIS certification conformity assessment, which is giving information regarding the audit rules. And they also have the possibility to get the IRIS audit tool. So a license for the IRIS audit tool to use it on their computers. Of course, companies also need to be familiar to the ISO TS 22163, which is giving all the requirements for the certification that need to be fulfilled. Then, and this is only maybe a recommendation from our side, it is good to perform a gap analysis. So for companies that are not familiar to ISO TS 22163 or to IRIS certification and that only know the ISO 9001, a gap analysis is really helpful. And after this, it is then time to prepare the readiness review and also to prepare the assessment. And then one of the last steps is, of course, the IRIS certification audit. And after the audit was performed, there's a continuous way to improve after the assessment. So as you see, there are quite a lot of steps that happen before the certification audit. And now let us have a look on the next slide, what could be done to do so. Okay, so as I said, it might be very helpful for organizations who start with IRIS certification to do a gap analysis. And here you can use the audit tool and especially there the assessment sheet. And maybe first have a look, because there are quite a lot of requirements in IRIS certification, what is already available in the organization, maybe due to a 9001 certification, and what might be missing at the moment, and who is responsible for this, or who could take over these parts. So here in my example, and this is also how we did in our company when the ISO TS 22163 was published, we just allocated the different items to the different departments. because then it was a split of work. So the quality manager was not responsible for all the items. He could then split the work to the different head of units to get everything prepared for the assessment. And it is important that the audit tool is only needed once in a smaller company. So the quality manager, for example, can use the audit tool to allocate all the items to the dedicated functions. Then he can do an export in PDF and provide these PDF export to all of his colleagues, and they can then continue with the work because they can see what are the requirements, what are maybe higher maturity levels that can be achieved. And there are also some examples given, and then they can start to prepare the assessment. Good. Then the next step on the next slide is to prepare the readiness review. As I guess all of our listeners are aware, the readiness review needs to be performed prior to the IRIS audit to prove that everything is in line and that all the main criteria are already fulfilled by the company. So here you can also use the IRIS audit tool and maybe collect all of the documents you would like to provide during the readiness review. So for example, it can be written down what is the title of the document that the organization wants to show, what is the document number, and the audit tool can also be used to maybe have some points that are not yet clear or that are not yet completed and highlight them. So you see here in the column 4.2 or 4.3, these information are missing. Then the company can directly see, there's something that is uncompleted. Maybe we need to investigate further on this. Then after the readiness review is prepared, of course, you can contact the certification body that you are now ready, and then the readiness review is performed. As a next step, on the next slide, then the organization can start to prepare the assessment. So here again, the assessment sheet, and there I added not only the responsible department, but maybe also everything that you would like to have as an evidence during the assessment. This could, for example, be some processes, maybe some procedures, or also test reports or the qualification matrix. So here it is just, I would say, a help for the auditees, because they can then write down what they would like to show or what they would like to prepare, and they can use this as a kind of checklist for all of the assessments. So it's not only a one-time work that needs to be done before the certification audit, but it can also be used for the upcoming audits. Just maybe if somebody is new or has just joined the department, he can then have a look there. So, and then hopefully everything is prepared completely. All the maturity levels could, of course, also be allocated, but this just gives a rough indicator for the company where they could maybe go for during their certification audit. And then, of course, the assessment is conducted. And the last step that is on the next slide could then be maybe potential improvements after the assessment. So you could, as organization, download the audit tool file of the audit in the portal. So you can go to the portal, you can not only download your reports there, but you can also get the audit tool file there. Or of course, maybe you can also ask your auditor if you have some difficulties in finding it. And then you can use these both documents, so the audit tool file you have prepared prior the assessment and the one from the auditor, and just compare where there are maybe some areas for improvement. And then in the next assessment, you can use this to prepare better and maybe also have a better result in the IRIS audit. Okay, on the next slide, you can see some, if you still need some more information or if there's anything where you are stuck. There are some good helps I can recommend to you. So first is the audit tool help. So this is a kind of manual that is directly integrated in the audit tool. You just go to the little question mark, click on it, and then you can there first go through the manual if there's anything that you miss. if it is still not answering all of your questions, you can also have a look at the IRIS portal, or you can also, if it is a very specific question, ask these questions in the info mailbox. And of course, we also highly recommend to you to subscribe for the IRQB bulletin. Then you will always be informed about the latest IRQB news and also about every upcoming webinar that will be done in the future. And by this, I would now hand back first to Anish, and then we can continue with the presentation.
Thank you very much, Jana. Excellent viewpoint and understanding on how really the IRIS audit tool can help companies and organizations prepare for their upcoming audits. Shuaj, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I apologize again for the network connection problem. So coming back to the second key step as audit realization from an auditor perspective, as said before, the structure of the tools allow consistently collect all the objective evidences and assess level of compliance for each particular requirement in the standard. And the good additions to the tool after the change of in 2017 was basically start to performance tracking and trends monitoring of mandatory processes, which really the most significantly contribute to the customer satisfaction. And another feature related to that is really a customer perception evaluation as part of each audit. This is the main mission of the standards that we are assessing. Obviously, if you know how much is in front of you and how many questions you have to ask, it allows you to better manage your time. We know that the audit tool and the requirements are quite comprehensive, which really gives us much more, I would say, self-confidence that really nothing is left behind, and we cover all the scopes and objectives which are really expected from us to do during the audit. And again, for auditors who doesn't have enough experience or you do not really do audit frequently, they really provide a better self-confidence that everything has been covered and nothing really is missing in terms of evidence to be seen during the audit. If we move to the next step on the next slide, which is from an auditor perspective, not really loved, and no auditor loves really reporting, but at the end of the day, what really ends up at the company and the organization is really audit report. So how good the audit report is, then really the information stays with the company. So basically, audit tool itself keep all the informations in one place, in one document, like an audit plan, list of auditees, objective evidence, audit findings. Very important these days is being able to give a client a user-friendly outcome of the report, especially in terms of audit findings, negatives when there are non-conformities, or the positives or improvement areas. And this tool can provide a very user-friendly Excel-based action plan, which really allows client to work with this Excel to provide the further follow-up and corrective action analysis, including the evidences. Very good feature, because the report and audit is very comprehensive, is data incompleteness. So basically, audit tool allows, and if something is missing, something important is missing, the system during the automatic check saying something is missing in the report, and you have to go back and look what is missing in the report. And after everything is complete, the system gives auditor opportunity or ability to generate the final audit report. Very good from a customer perspective is really that provides and summaries of customer perception evaluation, performance evaluation, and enablers in terms of scoring, which gives a client a nice visibility where they stand currently with their business management system and where are the future opportunities. And obviously also achieved scores in all respective clauses are a nice visualization tool which helps identify client where are the strong areas, which areas are not that developed yet and needs further improvement. And obviously, if you have 2 or more auditors, we have an automated merging process, which is very helpful, especially avoiding copy-paste exercise with so many lines in the audit tool, so which is also very helpful in terms of getting everything done and report within the defined time frame. Last but not least, in our audit cycle is going to the audit follow-up. If we move to the next slide, obviously, all information provided by the client, if there are any findings or improvement actions identified by the client, goes back in order to finalize the audit cycle, and all the information goes back to the same tool and provide reference for the next audit, probably for the same auditor, or if there's a change of the auditor, for the auditor who is taking over from a current auditor. And especially for me, very helpful, because they can create a lot of problems in certificates, which is a very important piece of paper, which really clients hold for 3 years. Is ability, once you type and all the data are correct in the system, is give you a visibility and visualization how the certificate will look like once the report is approved, and what client will receive, because sometimes happen problems with the misspelling and so on. So it's very important for me as an auditor to see how the certificate will look like once the client will get it. And I think we concluded my view as an auditor, as a lead auditor for multiple years experience with audit tool.
Okay, thank you very much for your extensive views on the IRIS technology specific to the IRIS audit tool. Joaj, it was a great pleasure to have you here and to hear your perspective, as well as Jana's perspective on how the IRIS audit tool can help organizations. Let's now move past the audit tool and now go to the second element of the IRIS technology, which is the IRIS portal. Aysegul, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you, Anish. My name is Aysegul Durmaz Gökçe. I am from TÜV Nord. I am also lead auditor for IRIS, ISO 9001 and IATF 16949. I am in this business more than 20 years. Next slide, please. Just short information about my company. TÜV Nord head office is located in Germany and present in over 100 countries worldwide. We have many different business segments, including system certification. One of the service is IRIS certification. Next slide, please. Okay, how we are using the IRIS technology as a certification body. We are also using the IRIS portal to manage our daily business in system certification, IRIS certification. But of course, we have as admin people in certification body has a different view in the portal called Navigation CV. In this part, there are two main sections, certificates and administration. Admin people has different authorities in the sections to view or update this data in the portal. Next slide, please. I can categorize main aspects for certification bodies in the IRIS portal in 3 sections. One is customer information. As Anish and Yuray also mentioned, that the company information is entered by companies to the IRIS portal and it goes to database, and we can see all customer information, our customer information. If the customer is TÜV Nord customer, then all company data for our existing customers, new customers, and also archive. All audit reports and certificates are stored in this area. The second and most important part for the daily business is audit management. In this part, admin people from certification body are scheduling audits, the place called diary, and in this place, and based on the audit reference dates, audits are scheduled, and auditors and audit dates are entered. And also many possibilities here and requirements as well. Downloading and uploading audit plans, downloading the audit tool, and uploading preliminary and final reports, and finally, creation of certificates. The third part is the auditor management. All our auditors are registered in the portal. We can see their all information and scopes. It is also possible to see audits for each company and for each scope. This is very important for us for audit scheduling. And customers are evaluating auditor performances via the portal, and also we can get this information and to use to improve our auditor skills. And one more important aspect is auditor search. Certification bodies can search auditors based on, according to auditor IDs and scopes. Of course, we cannot see auditor names, but we can find an auditor and contact directly with the related CB to use multi-CB auditors. This is our daily business. But I can say that this is not an easy job. There are IRIS rules, KPIs, and time limits to be respected. But there is a great support from IRIS technology. Next slide, please. Okay, the first one is emails from the IRIS portal to remind us audit scheduling, upcoming audits, report upload when the audit is completed, the preliminary and final reports has to be uploaded to the portal, and certificate creation. There are many possibilities in the portal that we can download many different types of Excel tables, like list of customers, list of new customers, auditors, audits, and some data for audit scheduling. These Excel tables help us for make some analysis and create some reports and plan our daily business. The great part of the audit portal, IRIS portal is there are some error proofs and automatic controls. In the diary, the audit scheduling part, and it counts auditors' audits. One auditor is allowed to conduct 6 consecutive audits in the same company. If it is completed, the IRIS portal doesn't allow to create a new audit, schedule a new audit for this auditor, automatically controlled. And audit date controlled versus audit reference date. If it is already past the audit reference date, again, this is not possible to schedule an audit without a waiver, of course. And some prerequisites to download audit tool. Company data shall be verified and audit plan shall be uploaded, and audit plan sent date and data package receiving date shall be entered. They are essentials for the audit tool download. Also, during the audit report upload to the portal, when the audit is finished, the audit report is completed and checked by the veto checker. Again, there are some automatic controls. Company master data is checked. And again, audit plan sent date and data package receiving dates are checked in the portal and in the audit tool. And also report completeness. As Yuray told that there is a help from the audit tool for auditors to see if there are some missing points. If there are still missing parts, again, the portal is checking this and blocking the audit report to be uploaded. So they are great helps for our daily business and also protecting us as certification body to making some mistakes. Next slide, please. I would like to emphasize one important point. Also, Yuray also just mentioned this. These company data in the IRIS portal, these company details, company name, address, number of employee, remote location, manufacturing site extension information. They are entered by the company representatives. And this information automatically goes to the audit tool After that, to the certificate. In the audit tool, the customer master data is locked. As auditors, lead auditors, or certification body admin people, we are not allowed to change anything in the section. Only person, the company representative or company admin people can change this data. When they change it, this data, certification body gets automatic email from the portal that's saying that there is a change, and the auditor can refresh the audit tool. And this data goes on to the certificate automatically. If there is a mistake, then certificate will be issued wrong. And if there is a mistake in the audit employee number, then audit effort will be the wrong. So in the first entry, it is very important to enter correct information. But also before each audit, companies are getting reminder from the portal that verify the company data. This should not be just a simple click. Please review your data and update is necessary. After that, certification body will take necessary actions, recalculating the audit mandate or revising the certificate. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you very much. And this opportunity, Anish, also inviting me to this webinar. If you have any questions for Iris Business, please don't hesitate to contact me. I left my company information and my information as well. Floor is yours, Anish. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asigul. That's a very nice representation of the second element of the IRIS technology, the IRIS portal, and it really shows that we have a complex system, an integrated system that autonomizes a lot of things and also controls various aspects and rules based on our certification rules and so on. So now that we've explained and we've given you an insight on the IRIS audit tool and the IRIS portal, let's quickly talk about the IRIS database and how you can understand your data. So if you are a company, you can currently find, so an organization, you can currently find your information and your data in one of the three mentioned places: the IRIS audit tool, as Jana mentioned, the IRIS reporting and annexes, as Yuaj mentioned as well. So in these three areas, the IRIS audit tool, the reporting and the annexes that you get once your audit has been completed are the only areas where you as organizations that have had an IRIS audit can find your information. So the only way that you can understand and obtain your information are from these reports. So meaning it would be manual. So let's talk about what type of data is recorded in the audit. So you have all types of information on the enabler score, information on the performance evaluation scoring, information on the customer perception scoring, corrective actions, improvement actions, gradings and scorings on your sites, with the activities, the scopes, the which location each site is based in, the language of the site, the time frame, and so on. But all this information can only be found in the above mentioned three areas: the IRIS audit tool, the IRIS report, and the annexes. So you can understand and receive the information there. But what happens if you are a corporation or you have at least three sites? How can you get this information faster without going through the hundreds of pages of reportings and so on? Well, there's one simple solution. What we want to do is build a data-driven culture for you through data literacy. And with this, we are partnering and working with Click, which is a business intelligence platform used to turn your data into your knowledge. So what this is a system in which you could potentially receive autonomized distribution of dynamic reporting via package of the information of your site or sites. So if you want to see what type of information can be provided, I urge you to go and have a taster on the IRQB IRIS 15, in which we used the same tool click to generate various information. So without further ado, please go to www.irqb.org/iris15 to see the capabilities of what you can get from Click. On the next slide, you can see really how you can transform the data that we can potentially provide you to your advantage. So if you choose to obtain this service in receiving this information, you would then be able to receive charts, tables, KPIs, dynamic reporting on all information across all of the IRIS audits that you have received on your sites. Okay, so if you have an interest, you will be able, once you receive this, get an insight on your site's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and be able to take this information and really use it for your advantage. Last but not least, if you decide to have some interest in this, do not hesitate to contact me, where you can then request a demo in which I will give you an in-depth insight on how it looks like, and we can discuss the next steps. On the last slide, I would like to, just before we go to the questions and answers, go into the conclusions of today's webinar. So basically, as you know, IRIS technology checks if all players, from auditors, organizations, towards the certification bodies as well, are compliant with the rules for achieving and maintaining the IRIS certification recognition. From checking the on-time planning of the audits, to the completion of the audits, to the upload of audits, of, as Segol has said, all the way towards the auditor's assessment, as Raj said. The IRIS technology is there to help all parties fulfill their needs. The various tools that we provide within IRIS technology help the rail industry improve its quality performance. So without further ado, we have some time now to go through the questions and hopefully give you some answers. So first question would be dedicated to Jana, and it's a very good question. Should the turtle look like as it's displayed in the IRIS conformity assessment, or can it be in a different form but including all the necessary items?
Yes, thank you, Anish, for this question. So here it is very important to say it clearly. Of course, it is recommended to use the turtle format to have all of the items that are necessary available in the company. But if a company has already set up a process that is fulfilling all of the aspects that are required, then it is not necessary to transfer it in a turtle diagram. So this is very important. As we always receive this question, if there's already a process in place, do I have to transform all of this in turtle diagrams? No, this is not necessary. But please always make sure that all of the items are fulfilled, because if something is missing in the process, then you can have an issue in the readiness review. So this is very important.
Thank you very much, Jan. I will actually go ahead and answer the second question, which is also linked to the turtle diagram. And the question is as follows. In the IRIS audit tool, there's the turtle diagram. Can we attach the file instead of filling in the turtle? So just to carry on with what Jana said, absolutely possible. In the new web-based solution, you'll be able to upload the turtle diagram just like you can now in the downloadable software. Thank you very much for that question. Now the next question is for Asirgul. So there's a question, I assume it's from a company, a potential company wanting to become IRIS certified. It's as following. During the portal registration or update, can the company get support from the certification body?
Yes, of course, and they can contact with certification bodies as long as if it is a very technical question, we are helping to companies what kind of information shall be entered to the portal. If we cannot answer, of course, we are directing them to Anish or support center. Please don't hesitate to contact certification bodies in this reason.
Exactly. The certification bodies are there to help you on all your steps during the journey from the beginning towards the end. Perfect. Thank you, Esigul. I see a few questions related to the web-based system, so I will go ahead and read them out and answer them directly. So the first one would be, when do you expect the Iris Audit Tool web-based solution to be available? According to the current validated planning, we hereby believe that the web-based audit tool will be available from the beginning, more or less the beginning of 2023. Okay. There's another question about the reliability of the web-based tool if the auditor or user does not have internet access. So whoever asked that question, if they don't have internet access or coverage, would it be available? Very good question. We have already taken this into account. We hereby declare that we know some organizations do not allow external users to connect to the internet, so we are aware that there are sometimes these issues, and we are already developing the tool to be able to be used offline in an offline mode as well, and this will not be a problem. Thank you very much for that. The last question on the Iris Audit Tool web base is regarding if there is a plan on when to use it. So as I said, it will be applicable as from 2023 onwards, and we will hereby give more information on the Iris portal as needs be. So then there's a question for Joaj. What do you consider as the key challenges of Iris technology in the upcoming years?
Yes, indeed, a very good question, Anish. Yes, as we discussed, a lot of things which are currently in my mind are related to what has been already presented. So basically, and we compare the other schemes and we're working more, especially automotive, that moving from existing reporting environment to the cloud or web-based solution, I think is absolutely must, especially these days, taking into account the user-friendly environment and a lot of data which are included in the system. And obviously it creates then more user-friendly environment. And I'm a fan of visualization, using charts and pictures rather than tons of text. So visualization and charts, as you mentioned with a click, is again the things which I believe are very important for the next upcoming years in terms of auditing and audit reporting. And I'm a big fan of simplification. And over the couple of years, there has been added a lot of information, a lot of documentation, but I still believe we need to look all interested parties in the real business and really put into the reporting the things which are really important for all interested parties. And obviously, as a fan of technologies, the tools like voice to text conversion, automatic data upload, especially corrective actions back to the system, I would be very happy if this will go live and will be available. It will help significantly auditors to streamline the audit process and make their life much more easier. And also, if the same technology is used for the internal audits using the audit tool, it will also help the client as well.
Spot on.
Thank you for that question. Very nice.
Spot on. A very good point. Just to add on to that, really, if it was not clear before, the web-based solution will really transform. Why? Because we will be using the latest technologies, and these real technologies will help auditors organizations, certification bodies, all parties make effective and efficient audits. So that's perfect. One more question for Jana. Actually, there's two questions in this question. The first one is, first, where can I purchase the Iris audit tool? And I assume this person who is asking is a company, because they also say, how long in advance shall I start to prepare for my first audit?
Okay, so the first question is quite easy to answer. So you can purchase the Iris audit tool on the Iris portal. There you can find the shop and it's easy to buy it there. And related to the second part of the questions, how many preparation is necessary? Here you should really take your time. So it should not be a hurry to implement everything. So there should be, as I said, first the gap analysis and then all of the preparation part. So this can take quite long. It can even take maybe up to 4 or 6 months. But if you prepare properly, there is also no problem in the assessment. If you do it in a rush, it could, of course, happen that you have maybe some corrective actions. But as the initial certification audit can be performed at any time, there's also no time pressure. So please first prepare, do the gap analysis, do the readiness review, and then start with the assessment in a well-prepared way.
Thank you very much, Jana. There's one last question I see on the Mentimeter. Final question: which system is better according to your experience, Qlik or Power BI? So with our non-biased experience, we believe Qlik Sense is the better one. Why? Because we believe it has better data management, querying, security, and more advanced analytics compared to the Power BI. So really, if you have any inquiries of how you as an organization can obtain your data and use it to your advantage, don't hesitate also to contact me. I will be glad to give you a 1-hour demo and give you an insight on how you can obtain this information for your advantage. Then on the next slide, you will see a final slide introducing a little teaser for the next Quality Monthly on the process approach in auditing. So please look out for the next marketing elements on that to come. Thank you very much for joining. It was a pleasure to host you and to give our insight on Iris certifications, Iris technology. Again, as all three of my participants and speakers have stated, do not hesitate to contact us directly or at the Iris Management Center at info@irisrail.org for any questions, queries, or comments you may have. My name is Anish Bauer, and it was a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you very much.